Good evening, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Wonderful. Okay. All right, guys. A very, very warm welcome to the first session of CIA Part 1. Now, before we proceed, I'll take a moment here to, of course, introduce myself as an instructor. Some of you might be knowing me, some of you are very new to me and my style of teaching. But before I go on to myself, what I want is let me have a very brief from you so that I understand the level of audience that is there because we'll be together for a considerable period of time throughout part one. So it's very important for me to understand where do you stand with respect to your knowledge of audit. All right. Of course, I'll be telling you about the exam structure, and all such things. We'll be covering that, of course. But before that, a very, very quick round of introduction. So, what I need from you is your name, of course, a very brief on what is your background and what you currently do. All right. So, we'll begin from very top. I think let's start with Ankit Jain. Feel free to unmute yourself.
Yeah. Hi, good evening, Aayush. Good evening, everyone.
Hi,
So,
Ankit.
hi, Aayush. This is Ankit Jain, and I'm a qualified chartered accountant of 14. So, presently, I'm working with a consulting firm, SS Kothari Mehta and Company, in our
Okay.
internal division. So, I'm leading the division from the last 5 years of SS Kothari for the risk advisory domain. So,
Wonderful.
yeah.
Wonderful. So you already into internal audit, huh?
Yeah, I'm
From a
into risk
considerable
advisory
period of
from the
time.
last 8 years. So, before you can say SS Kothari, I was associated with Grant Thornton also for around 1.5 years.
Wonderful. Same domain, internal audit.
Yeah, in risk advisory only.
Yeah, so risk is, I consider it a part of internal audit.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough. So you and me together are going to take this session, huh?
Sure, it's a team.
It's a team, of course. So whenever, some of the topics that we do, you might have already seen practical application of it. You might have handled any of the issues. So yeah, of course, feel free to Bhajan.
Definitely. We will be working in a team as a complete. Yeah,
Wonderful.
sure.
Hi, Geeta. Geeta, you want to introduce yourself? No? Okay. We'll move to John. John A.
Hello. I'm a part of risk and compliance team. I'm a manager in Accenture. So my background is PCMS and information security auditor. So I wanted to expand my domain to internal audit.
Okay.
So the reason why I enrolled for this course is to, upskill myself.
Okay. Wonderful, John. We'll make sure that you upskill yourself here.
Thank you.
Next I have is Mansi.
Yeah, hi Ayush. Mansi here. So basically, I'm also a semi-qualified chartered accountant and MBA in finance. I work in internal audit for a US company since last 3 years. And because I have decided to go forward in the same stream of internal auditing and process auditing, I wanted to pursue CIA to add to my qualifications and profile.
Fair enough. All right. Welcome, Mansi. Then we have Dilip.
Good evening, Aayush. Hello.
Yeah.
I am a qualified tax consultant, and also I'm a GST practitioner. And previously, I have worked under CA firms, and also I have started my new journey into this internal audit job newly since 3 months. So I don't have any experience in the internal audit. So I just wanted to gain much knowledge about this internal audit as a new. So I came for upskilling.
Wonderful. Wonderful, Dilip. Welcome. Then we have Kashmira Talati. Kashmira. Up Kashmira, you want to unmute yourself and introduce very quickly? No? Okay. Then we have Pankaj Ved.
Hi Ayush, good evening. Myself Pankaj Ved, and I'm in internal audit from last 13 to 14 years. I have a mixed experience of consultancy and industry. I spent approx 9 to 10 years in SS Kothari Mehta and Company in internal audit domain only. And right now I'm in industry from last 5 years, approx 5 years in a consumer durable industry. And I'm in the same internal audit field only. I'm a
Wonderful.
semi-qualified only, yes.
Wonderful. So again, you have ample amount of experience. So, as a team, we'll be taking the session together. Feel free to budge in.
Yes, Ayush.
Wonderful. Next, let's go to.
Hello, sorry, there was at my end. Hello,
Hi, Kashmira.
Ayush.
Welcome back.
Yeah, hi. So, hi everyone. I'm Kashmira. I'm a semi-qualified chartered accountant, and I have about close to 7 years of experience into internal audit across various industries. Currently, I'm working with Alcargo Logistics Limited, a logistics and supply chain company. And
Okay.
yes, I am pretty much liking this field, and I think I just thought that I should be getting I mean, kind of a certified degree, which would help my profession. I mean, upskilling myself and getting a professional attitude as well as professional. So thought of joining this course.
Wonderful. So it's very interesting to find people who actually are, liking and have interest in internal audit, by the way. So I meet very few people who say that, I'm actually liking this audit and I'm liking this internal audit domain. So it's very interesting. Welcome, Kashmira.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, we get to see different industries and get to understand how different, I mean, various industries or various companies in that industries work, get to know it. I mean, the core business, not just the finances part or the costing part, like we look at from a
So
chartered
ये
accountancy point of
ये
view,
रीजन
but
ये
also all the
रीजन है
nuances. And
ये रीजन है या जो खातिरदारी होती है वो रीजन है?
I mean, I would say that those are the perks that we get.
Okay, fair enough. Kashmira,
Yeah,
welcome to the batch.
thank you.
Next we have Khushi. Guys,
Hello,
let's
good
be
evening,
quick, huh?
Ayush.
Yeah.
I recently graduated and I have worked with ICICI Bank as an external auditor for the past 6 months. So I don't have much experience in internal auditing, but I enjoy doing internal audit at ICICI Bank. So I want to pursue this course.
Acha. So what did you do when you say you enjoy internal audit? What are you doing in
Uh,
ICICI Bank?
I check the transactions, I make changes in the transaction, I upload files, I change names.
Okay. So, okay. Welcome, Kushi. We'll make sure that you graduate as an expert into internal audit as far as the concepts are concerned from this batch. Wonderful. Next we have is Aanchal. Yes, Aanchal. Hi, guys. Let's be quick, huh?
Hey, hi, Ayush.
Yeah.
So my name is Anchal, and I have been working as part of the risk advisory team with Deloitte for the last 10 plus years. Specifically, I
Nice.
look into the extended enterprise teams and, primarily doing contract compliances, reviews of my clients' third parties, like their vendors, distributors, licensees. So that side of things is what I look into currently, and definitely looking
So
into
you're looking
broadening.
into EBRs. You're looking into EBRs much?
Yes, kind of. Like, I mean, it's more of like
External relationships.
external relationships, extended enterprise relationships, like vendor
Okay.
audits, royalty audits, all of that.
Okay. Wonderful. Welcome, Achal, to the batch. Next, we have Namita. Hi, Namita.
Hi Ayush, hi everyone, good evening. So currently I'm working as an SOX auditor in a US company, and previously I was working as a stat audit in KPMG. So currently I'm looking for a job change. So that's the reason I'm applying for this job. So So yeah, as you have mentioned that खातिरदारी तो होती ही रहती है as an auditor. That's the thing,
Okay.
but it involves both smart work and hard work. And yeah, I really like to be as an auditor. So this kind of certificate will help me to upskill. Yeah, that's the reason why I'm here.
For sure, for sure. Okay, so you're working in stocks, huh?
Yeah.
Good. Guys, stocks बोला है. And for those who do not know what it is Sarbanes-Oxley Act, right? इस पे बात करेंगे, once we touch upon that topic very briefly, we'll talk about that also. Okay, then Nidhi.
Hello, everyone. Hi. I work with, so I have a pure internal audit background, working in past 6.5 years with KPMG, and now I've moved to PwC. I look after financial service sector internal audits. I've done a lot of insurance and mutual fund audits in my experience of 7 years.
Good. So it's very interesting how I'm gonna take you all those experienced guys back to academics and back to the basics.
Yeah, much
Good.
needed.
Nah, okay, and feel free to budge in with all your experiences, guys. Those who are working day in, day out in internal audit, it'll be very beneficial as and when we dive into a topic where you think that you've handled uh, a problem, a challenge while working, and how did you solve it? It'll be beneficial for the entire batch. All right,
Right,
so feel free to budge in.
right.
All right, then we have Shivangi.
Hi Ayush, this is Shivangi. I am a BTech graduate and currently I am working with an MNC wherein I am part of the internal audit team. Now I want to pursue my career in this field only. That is why I'm just taking this course for the certification and just wanted to upskill myself in this field only.
Okay, wonderful. Then we have Vivek Shah.
Hi, Ayush. Hi, everyone.
Hi,
So I'm working with Genpact Enterprise Risk Consulting.
Mhm.
Am I audible, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have approx 7+ years of experience into internal audit and internal control testing. I've also, drafted risk control metrics for one of the automobile companies. So that's around my experience.
All right. Wonderful, Vivek. Welcome to the batch. Then we have VK. Who's VK?
Hi Ayush and hello everyone. I'm Vinay Shri Kushwaha. So
Okay.
I work for an insurance broker, Marsh McLennan. It's world's biggest broker. And currently I'm part of internal auditing. So it's been 3 years with this team. Prior to internal auditing, I was part of compliance in the same company. So
Okay.
I joined the internal audit team because they knew that, okay, this person has expertise in these areas, so she will be a good person for us. But why I am doing CIA to have that, risk and control perspective and to understand more about what how internal auditing actually works. So
Okay.
yeah, that's about
Okay.
me.
Wonderful. Welcome. We'll keep calling you VK only. Okay.
Okay, yeah, I
As
know
you have
that's
written.
short.
You have written. So okay.
Yeah.
Hi, Abhinesh. You wanna
Hi.
introduce? Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I am presently working as an internal audit department for 2.5 years.
Okay. ऐसा लग रहा है तुम exercise कर रहे हो.
Hello.
Okay. Okay.
And I also have previous 7 years experience as a quality engineer.
Okay. Fair enough. Welcome to the batch. Anyone left? Bindu. You want to quickly introduce yourself?
Hi, working in Deloitte with an internal audit team. It's not basically pure audit, internal auditing, but it's an expense audit thing. I have
Okay.
like 2 years experience in that.
2 years. Okay, fair enough. Welcome. Yes, Dinesh.
Hello everyone, I am Dinesh. So I don't have much experience. I just completed around 8 to 9 months, and I work in Deloitte USA as an internal controller.
ये पूरा डिलॉयट ही है क्या आज सैटरडे को okay fair enough welcome my friend anyone left
Yeah, it's
are we
me.
done
It's,
okay
yeah,
who's left Geeta is left
yeah.
oh
Yes. It's Geeta here. Hi, everyone. I'm a banker. Currently, I'm associated with the Citibank in branch banking. So I have experience in the branch banking around 14 years and currently working as a branch head. So wanna pursue my career in audit and want to become an auditor.
why
I don't have an experience in audit, but yes, I have attended branch banking audit from 8 to 10 years, can say.
okay so you like how auditors trouble you guys
Yeah.
you want to do the same
Yeah.
okay all right guys that was good guys that was good now that we know each know all of us and I also know that I'm dealing with uh, mostly an experienced kind of audience that helps me tailor my approach and helps me also tailor how much extent I need to dive down the concepts. Something about me, guys. You know my name by now. I'm Aayush Bajaj. I'm an investment banker by profession. I'm also an international corporate trainer for finance certification and audit certification programs. Uh, I started my career with KPMG in audit. After being an auditor, I moved to EY in their transactions and valuations domain. Post that, I launched my own startup and into L&D only. And since then, I am actually working a lot with the Middle East and India audience with batches made in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Amsterdam, Paris, and various other geographies. I won't go too much into this, otherwise you'll say that the trainer was boasting too much about himself. But yes, I am taking batches on a global level. Uh, as far as the certification is concerned, you are in absolutely safe hands. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about passing. If you are fully focused on passing the examination and you do what I tell you to do, there is no way that you will skip this exam and there's no way that you will not pass the exam. All right. Uh, over the period of all these 5 to 6 years, let's say, I've seen a lot of batches, I've seen a lot of problems that candidates face. We have developed a lot of hacks. I'll keep telling you all as and when as you know, we progress along, so that you also have these in mind and you can keep such hacks and such ready references in mind as far as this exam is concerned. Now, one question before we actually dive in. Uh, all of you, have you all received the credentials to Gleim portal? Is there anyone who has not received the access to Gleim portal?
I have access to VG learning, not
Uh,
Glam portal.
VG तो ठीक है, VG is
Same
separate.
here, same here.
Same
Same
And
here.
so we don't have
Okay.
time portal.
Okay, so just connect with VGLD team. You also need access to Gleim portal, right? So Gleim is the authorized study material provider. The material that we will be covering, the textbooks, the slides I can share with you, but the digital textbooks, the practice questions, and the practice tests, right? So that for those practice questions and practice tests, you will have to take an access to the client portal. This the VGLD team will be helping you with. Now, why do I say that this blind portal is very important? Because you have a lot of practice tests, a lot of questions, and you have to mandatorily do those questions in order to pass the exam. If you think that you are experienced enough, you can simply go through the slides without doing the questions. You can appear in the exam and answer 125 questions in a span of 2.5 hours. Trust me, you will not be able to do that. uh, why? Because when you do practice questions, in a simulated time environment, your mind gets trained, in a sense that you are training your mind to think within 1 year. You are reading the question carefully, you are understanding the scenario, you are interpreting and comprehending the question, you are understanding the options that are given, you are comprehending and trying to understand the implications of those options, and then finally arrive at the answer, right? So all this within a span of 1 minute you'll have to do, and that is why practicing questions becomes very, very important. So the approach that we are going to take is we are going to cover the GLIME slides, right? We'll be moving through the slides. Now, when you move through the slides, you'll find it often on a descriptive basis, right? And now, this is summarized version of your textbook, okay? Although I'll be happy to provide my notes and my illustrations that I prepare separately to you all, so that they can act as a ready reckoner kind of a thing a day prior to the examination, because I cannot expect that a day prior to the examination you'll be able to review each and every page of the slide. That will not happen. Or each and every page of the textbook. That cannot happen, right? So I will try to give you my notes. I will try to give you the illustrations and all that we will keep on preparing throughout the course. But yes, GLIME is very important. The approach that we are going to take is we'll be covering a concept, right? We'll be covering one module. So this part 1 is divided into 8 modules, right? So we'll be covering the modules and we'll be going to the questions. So one module, then move on to the practical questions. Now, in a class of 3 hours, or whatever time we have for the questions, we might be able to cover 20 questions, 30 questions, 50 questions, not more than that. But you might be having 150 questions on the GLIME portal from the very same topic. That is why, yes, you will be doing those practical questions with me during the session, but also you need to go back and log into the GLIME portal and try to do those questions yourself. It's absolutely essential. If anybody tells you otherwise, this is not the right approach. All right, you have to do the questions. All right, and that is why these authorized study material providers are there. Okay, and it's there in all the exams, because this is the challenge that I faced in one of the batches that I'm currently taking in part 2. Currently, so it was my first session, previous month, and people told me that they've been told that GLIME is just an addition to what slides the trainer is giving them, or something like that happened, right? So that is why I'm addressing is upfront that GLIME is not in addition to anything. It is the material that you have to cover, right? What material I will give you, the notes I will give you, that is an addition. Okay, so please understand the importance of GLIME and the importance of practice questions. All right, chalo yaar, bahut gyan ho gaya. Too much of lecturing. Then let's dive into the examination. CIA is a 3-part exam. You know by now, right? We have part 1, we have part 2, we have part 3. Part 1 is very easy. Part 1 will touch on the basic concepts. That is it. Part 1 will not take you down into the details. Part 1 will touch, okay, what is internal control? What is governance? What is this? What is that? What needs to be done as an internal auditor, right? So part 1 will just tell you that. Part 2 will take you down to the details. Part 2 will tell you, okay, how do you take the evidences? How do you analyze? How to take the sampling? How to, populate the results to the population? How do you actually conduct the audit? That's part 2 teaching you. All right. Part 3 is nothing to do with internal audit. You heard me right, guys? Part 3 is nothing to do with the internal audit. Then why part 3? Part 3, because you will be a professional, right? In order to audit, in order to become a successful internal auditor, being able to audit different aspects of business, you need to know about those aspects of business, right? So part 3 is going to teach you the business acumen that you have, right? So you have motivation, you have leadership, you have various theories involved, you have accounts, you have cost, you have financial management also, right? But the good part is that this is not an accounting exam. This is not CFA. This is not CPA or ACCA. This is audit. So all these concepts will be there. Yes, the depreciation will be there, for example. Yes, the cost of capital will be there, but it will not be into too much of details, right? Because you just need knowledge into that. Okay, so don't worry when it comes to the practical aspects or part three. Again, we'll take part three slow and it will be an easy journey for you. Part three can be regarded as a mini MBA kind of a thing. All right, so that is part three. Now, exam format, you know by now, is a multiple choice computer based exam. You have 125 questions, you have 2.5 hours to complete them in part one. Part two and part three each have 100 questions. Okay. Now, anything else you want to ask me with respect to the examination? If no, we can proceed ahead.
Ayush, as you have a lot of experience in training and teaching people, can you suggest what would be the best strategies when we are preparing for exam, in the sense like we are going through classes with you, then once we complete all the units, all the classes, within how many weeks or months we should try to appear for the exam, and like immediately, or we should take a pause and go through the content again? What works best?
Okay, and now this is different for different people. You might be taking, you might feel that, okay, 4 days is sufficient for me to practice everything, read everything, and immediately give the exam. Somebody might feel that, okay, so I need 7 days to practice each module per day, kind of a thing. But in any case, do not take more than 10 days. Because if you take more than 10 days, everything that we have discovered and discussed will take a backseat. And then you'll have to do all the mehnat again. All the effort is gonna, you need to put the effort again for that. Okay, so maximum within 10 days, try and give the exam.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Okay. All right, guys. Let's dive into the first one. All right. Now I will share these slides with you, not a problem. Now, the first module that we have here is the foundations of internal audit. Let us understand that every company, right? Let's say this is X company. Now, every company has a set of internal controls in place. Right? We all understand that every company has a set of internal controls. Can anybody give me an example of any of the internal controls? Anyone? When we say that, all the companies have internal controls in place, give me any one example of an internal control.
Ayush, can I share one
Hi,
example?
Ayush. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. We'll start with Pankaj. I think Pankaj spoke first.
Yes. So Ayush, means it's a best example for internal control that we on daily basis we go to our offices. So best internal control is key to process our salary. That is our attendance processing system. So कोई भी बंदा जाएगा अगर वो कहता है कि मैं इस कंपनी अब इस कंपनी में मैं हमेशा आया हूँ 30 days आया हूँ तो बेस्ट कंट्रोल इज टू अटेंडेंस प्रोसेसिंग सिस्टम तो इन माय एज पर माय इट्स अ बेस्ट एग्जांपल कि आप डेली बेसिस पे ऑफिस जाते हो आपका अटेंडेंस रिकॉर्ड होता है आपका अटेंडेंस सिस्टम चाहे वो बायोमेट्रिक है या वो आपको कैप्चर करता है या फिर आपने जियो फेंसिंग करा रखी है उस एरिया में वो आपको कैप्चर करता है यस कि आप उस प्लेस को विजिट हुए हो एंड उसके बेसिस पे आपकी सैलरी प्रोसेस होती है आई थिंक दैट्स वन ऑफ द एग्जांपल ऑफ आईसी
Very good. One of the examples. Yes, somebody wanted to speak.
Yeah,
Yes,
can I?
Kiran. Yeah, please.
Yeah, hi. Hi, Ayush. So one of the next example I want to share is the approval matrix that every company have. say for example, if they want to raise the purchase order, if they want to have the processing of the invoice, they have the approval matrix and the mechanism. So that's one of the internal controls.
Very good. Anyone else? Nancy, you wanted to speak something?
No, sorry.
Okay. Okay. So
I think,
absolutely, yeah.
So Ayush, one example which I can think of is the SOD approach, which needs to be there in any organization to have a control across any of the processes. The SOD segregation of duty.
Very good. Very good. Segregation of duties, we'll come to that in very much of detail later on. So of course, wonderful guys. So let's just understand, and you might have observed on a daily basis that suppose someone is generating a sales invoice, right? Now that sales invoice is approved and signed by the concerned person, by the, let's say, the head of the department, right? Why do you think the person is signing the sales invoice? What is the purpose of signing? Why do you think authentication? Why do you think that is needed?
Have a maker checker system, like the person who is raising the invoice should not be the one who is approving, to protect from the fraud, to protect from the
to reduce the chances
fraud.
of fake invoices.
Very good. Very good.
In
There
future,
might
there is
so
chances of processing of fake invoices also,
wonderful.
and to control the invoices, to have a control on the invoices.
Wonderful. So absolutely, you all are correct. To make a checker ho gaya, to avoid the frauds, to avoid fake invoices, absolutely essential for someone to authorize that sales invoice. Why? Because there might be an instance wherein the company asked one of the persons that, okay, you are generating sales invoice, please generate fake sales invoice of, let's say, $100,000. Now, what is the risk? अगर कंपनी फेक सेल्स कर रही है तो प्रॉब्लम क्या है? What is the problem if the company is generating fake sales? The problem is manipulation of accounts. The problem is money laundering, and that's illegal, right? So there is a risk. So every time as auditors, you have to think whatever you're doing, you have to be skeptical. There are various words that will follow, right? And one such word is for you, this is professional skepticism, right? Professional skepticism. You have to be skeptical as an auditor. You have to have a questioning mind, right? You just can't believe everything that the management says. Right? You have to ask why. You have to, every time, whenever you're doing something, you just have to focus on what could go wrong, right? And that is what you have to do. As a professional, as an auditor, you have to act skeptical. That's professional skepticism, one of the very important traits of an internal auditor. All right. So absolutely every company has a set of internal controls in place. Now, let's suppose, please pardon me for this, suppose you are an internal auditor. Okay. You are an internal auditor working in this company. What will be your role, let's say, with respect to this internal controls? Do you have to implement those internal controls?
No.
As auditors, will you be implementing the internal controls?
We'll be evaluating that.
Very good. So your role when it comes to internal control is twofold. In fact, every time you just have two roles to play. Whatever you do, you just have two roles to play. One is evaluate and the other is improve. Evaluate the process and help improve the process. How will you improve the process? You will provide your recommendations as part of your report, right? And that recommendations would be keeping in mind how have the control performed in your tests? Is the control system efficient, or the controls are deficient? Is there a deficiency in internal controls? If yes, you provide your recommendations. Okay, what should be done? Right? So you are evaluating the controls and you are improving it. these two are very important keywords for your exam questions, right? Uh, a lot of times you have exam questions as to the responsibility of auditors, and you have to look for these keywords: evaluate, improve, evaluating something, assessing something, uh, providing recommendations, right? Only two responsibilities. Everything that you do falls within these two areas only, right? So you evaluate anything and you improve. And that is why you are a very important person in a company. Okay. Anybody, any example of a case where you tested an internal control, you found it deficient, and you provided a recommendation? Anybody?
Hi,
Ayush.
may I?
Yeah.
Yes, Kiran.
Yeah. So currently, I was just performing IFC testing for one of the control. The control was about changes in the GL setting that used to be made by an finance team. So over there, they used to have some changes into their SAP for the GL settings. Say, for example, auto posting. If they want to do it, want to post some manual entries, they need an approval for that. And the approval was in place for the same GL, but it was something for the different change. Like
Okay.
instead of auto posting, it was for opening the period that used to be monthly close. So we highlighted that there need to be a separate approval for each of the change or setting that the company is making. So the recommendation was to have the stringent approval checks, and that should not be verbal. That should be on document, so that there cannot be a mistake. Say, for example, in one more case, we noticed instead of GL ending with 8,000, they made changes into the GL ending 8,004, and they said it was verbally communicated, so they were not aware. So we recommended that the documentation should be proper.
Wonderful. So again, if you find out the crux of this, what did Kiran do? Kiran said that, okay, a company was having a system, right? GL codes were there, everything was there. So as an internal auditor, analyzed, Kiran evaluated what is being done currently. She said that, okay, there might be a better approach to it. So she gave recommendations to improve that process, to streamline that process. Again, your responsibility as an internal auditor is twofold. You evaluate something and you improve something. All right. Keeping this discussion in mind, let's start the module. Okay. Just give me a second. Let me change my earphones. Battery's done. Okay. All right. So as with any other professional certification, you also have an apex body, which is the Institute of Internal Auditors. So this Institute of Internal Auditors, this apex body governs the professional practice of internal auditing worldwide. The institute has issued an extensive body of professional literature. Now, obviously, if you are if you're an auditor, if you're doing accounts, you need a set of framework. You need a set of standards. You need some literature with you, within which you'll carry your duties, right? So this institute has an extensive body of professional literature that provides guidance for internal auditors in carrying out their job duties. And obviously, if you are doing what the institute says, if you are following the standards, if you are complying with the standards, the ethics, and everything that the institute does, you command a level of respect, right? For people to trust you, because you are into that position where people place reliance on you, people trust you. And for people to trust you, you need to act in accordance. You need to comply with the standards. You need to comply with ethics, right? And if you do that, you command a level of respect among the people, right? Now, there is this International Professional Practices framework, which is the IPPF. Do not worry, guys, for you. If you are giving the exam before May, the new course is not applicable to you. There are some changes that are being made. You all might be knowing about that. Nobody asked me though. But the course is changing. Yes, there are certain terminologies that has been changed. So do not worry about that. Since you'll be giving the exam before May, this new thing is not applicable to you. Okay. So International Professional Practices Framework, which is the IPPF. Now, there are basically 4 elements that you will be reading. But before that, you need to know that what is the mission of internal audit as per the institute. Why do we have internal audit? What is the mission of internal audit? It is to enhance and protect, the organizational value. What will you enhance and protect? The organizational value. How will you do that? By providing risk-based and objective assurance, advice, and insight. Risk-based and objective assurance, advice, and insight. And to facilitate the achievement of this mission is the IPPF. Now, we have 2 very important words in this definition. You need to tell me, any one of you need to tell me, what do we mean by risk-based? You are saying to enhance and protect the value by providing risk-based assurance, advice, and insight. And objective. Yeah.
Ayush, can I say something regarding risk-based? In the starting of the class, you use a terminology that is what can go wrong metrics. So first we need to prepare. कि if I just explain with the example कि अगर मैं कोई किसी भी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में हूं मैं, तो मुझे सबसे पहले इवेल्यूएट करना पड़ेगा कि भाई हर प्रोसेस में क्या गलत हो सकता है. व्हाट आर द रिस्क विच इज एसोसिएटेड विद द प्रोसेस, जिसको हम टेक्निकल उसमें व्हाट कैन गो रॉन्ग मैट्रिक्स कह सकते हैं. एंड वो रिस्क बेस आइडेंटिफाई करना हमारे लिए इसलिए इंपॉर्टेंट होता है बिकॉज हम किसी भी प्रोसेस को अंडरस्टैंड कर रहे हैं तो हमें रिस्क बेस्ड कंट्रोल्स बनाने हैं, या रिस्क बेस्ड अगर मैं इंटरनल की बात करूं तो हमें उसके अगेंस्ट कंट्रोल्स बनाने, सो दैट कि मेरा जो भी प्रोसेस है लाइक P2P, O2C, HR, जो भी प्रोसेस है वो जो भी उसका ऑब्जेक्टिव है वो एश्योर्ड कर सके. सो that is
Right.
the objective. Yes.
Correct. So as an internal auditor, right? So you have to understand that there are multiple risks involved in almost all the areas, right? So everything that you do, when we said that you have to see what could go wrong, and that can happen because you know that, okay, there might be risks involved in various things. There is a risk of fake invoice, and that is why that authorization is there, right? There is a risk that, the financial statements might not be correct because of the lack or because of the wrongly mentioned the GL codes, like Kiran was giving an example, right? So everything is considered based on what are the risks involved. And what do we mean by objective?
Objective is basically कि जो भी आपने प्रोसेस लगाए हैं, जो भी प्रोसेस हैं वो सही से चल रहे हैं, कि जो भी फंक्शन है वो सही से चल रहा है. That is the basically objective.
No, it is not that objective.
I think Ayush, objective is to mitigate that risk.
No. I am not talking about, wait, guys, I understand. I am not talking about what is the objective of doing something. No. You have to provide an objective assurance. You have to
ensure
provide
that the organization goal is achieved.
It means the unbiased opinion of.
Absolutely. Correct. So, objective here means unbiased. So I'll write it here. Objective here means unbiased. All right. To enhance and protect organizational value by providing risk-based and unbiased assurance, advised, and insight. Wonderful. Now, International Professional Practices Framework contains mandatory guidance and recommended guidance. Mandatory guidance, as the name suggests, it's mandatory to follow, you have to follow. And recommended guidance, it's recommended that you follow it. It says adherence to the mandatory guidance is essential for the professional practice of internal auditing. Within mandatory guidance, there are 4 elements. Very important exam questions. Also, you'll find multiple questions here. The mandatory guidance consists of 4 elements. The first one is the core principles for the internal audit profession. The second is the definition of internal auditing. And third is the code of ethics. And then we have the standards. You can remember it by the mnemonic PICS, where P stands for core principles, I stand for internal auditing definition, C stands for code of ethics, and S stands for standards. All through the course, I'll be giving you a lot of these mnemonics, which will help you remember the terminologies. Because again, it's very important for you to remember these things. And you'll find a lot of places very direct question comes. Which one of the following is one of the elements of mandatory guidance? Which of the following is not one of the elements of mandatory guidance? Right. So these kinds of questions also do come. Right. So make sure that you remember that there are 4 elements of mandatory guidance. Which is the first one? Can we please speak together? Core principles, the definition of internal auditing, code of ethics,
and
and the standards. Wonderful. Very good. So core principles, definition of internal auditing, code of ethics, standards. The objective of this module is to dive into each one of them and some more. Looking at the core principles, it says the internal audit function is effective if all principles are present and operating effectively. Right? If all the principles are being followed, if all the principles are there, then only you can say that the internal audit function is effective and operating effectively. What are the core principles? And we'll start discussing about each of them. You need to demonstrate integrity. What do you mean by integrity? Demonstrate integrity. What is integrity?
Maybe independent view.
Independence is something else. Integrity is honesty.
Okay.
Integrity is honesty. You need to have integrity. You need to be honest what you're doing. Demonstrate competence and due professional care. What is competence?
Capability.
Capabilities, the skills, the knowledge. Due professional care. What do we mean by due professional care?
Seriousness.
Careful. You are careful in what you do. Right? You are skeptical. Remember the word skeptical? Right? You're careful in what you are doing. Is objective. Who's objective? Internal auditor. Right? Internal auditor is objective and free from undue influence. And this term is being independent. Guys, if you're not speaking, please mute yourself. Okay.
objective and free from undue influence, that is being independent, right? Aligns with strategies, objectives, and risks of the organization. See, whenever you are working, whatever you are doing, that needs to be aligned with what is the strategy of the organization, what is the objective of the organization, and of course, the risks are to be taken into consideration. Understand that internal audit is not something that is, uh, aloof. It is not something that is independent. Now, this is another independent. It's not this independent. It is not independent of the entity. No, it is in sync with the entity. It is aligned with how these strategies are formed, how the objectives are set in the company, and it should promote, it should add value, it should help the company go towards their objectives. Is appropriately positioned and adequately resourced. Now, your authority should be clear. What is your position in the company? That should be clear. You should be having sufficient, you need to be having adequate resources to perform your work. Demonstrate quality and continuous improvement. Whatever you're doing, you need to have appropriate level of quality maintained. And just doing a procedure one time would not suffice. If you come across something new that can help the company, you can improve your process also of doing the things. For example, nowadays we're working on softwares. Why do we do that? Why don't we use the old school method of taking samples? Continuous improvement, right? Communicate effectively, because you have to provide reports, because you have to communicate at various levels in the company. You need to be effective in your communication. Provides risk-based assurance. Again, we understand this, right? We were discussed about this. Is insightful.
Hello.
Yes, Dilip.
Can you just explain me like last two points?
Last 2 points. Which one?
Communication effectively and provides risk-based assurance.
Communicates effectively. See, because you are as an internal auditor, you are required to communicate at a lot of different levels. You have to communicate with the management also. You have to communicate with senior management also. You have to communicate with the board also. Right? So you need to be effective in your communication. You need to be precise in what you say. You need to have a proper level of communication. Okay. And risk-based assurance is basically, again, as we discussed when we started this, risk-based. You have to consider the risks in the things, in the processes, risk in the departments, risk in whatever is the element of your audit, whatever is the subject of your audit, right? You have to provide an assurance considering the risk. That's a risk-based assurance. Okay.
1 minute, I just have a doubt in this risk-based assurance. This one. So, like, how to like identify the whether there is any risk in the part of the accounting works or any this one process
We'll
going
come
on
to
in
that.
there.
We'll come to that. We'll come to risk management later.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
It's a separate chapter for you.
Should we like make a notes of this going on lecture, or will you be providing any notes for going?
It will be better if you make your notes. Otherwise, I will be happy to share these slides with you.
Okay. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
जनरली क्या होता है जब मैं बोलता हूँ ना आई विल शेयर द स्लाइड्स तो सब अपना पेन वेन छोड़ के बैठ जाते हैं ओके सो you as an internal auditor are insightful. You can give insights, you can look into the details of the things. You are proactive and you are future focused. You think about the future, you think about how the things are changing in the future. And of course, you are promoting improvement. That is why you're working, right? To add value, to help the organization improve. All right. So these are the core principles, and you have to remember all of them. Again, your question could be which one is not one of the core principles or which one is one of the core principles of mandatory guidance. All right. So do not cram it word by word, but just remember the keywords, right? Integrity, competence, due professional care, objective, uh, be aligned, adequately resourced. So try catching the keywords. Otherwise, it will not be possible for you to remember everything in the exam. Although I know you've done it in your audit, those who are chartered accountants, you've done it in your audit exam, but it is not into that much of detail. You are not required to cram up the things word by word.
Ayush, I have.
Yes, Pritika.
Yeah, and in third point, it is written that is objective and free from undue influence. Free from undue influence is basically we are independent. And what does objective mean? Does it mean
Unbiased.
unbiased?
Unbiased, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Give me an example where you will not be free from undue influence. I'll give you an example. Suppose you are auditing the purchase department and your wife has been recently promoted as the head of the purchase department. My question to you is, will you be independent as an auditor?
No.
No.
My conflict of interest is there.
No, ना जैसे मतलब
My conflict of interest is there.
conflict of interest.
Yes.
ये दर्द निकला है पंकज का एकदम से. Absolutely no, right? Will you identify faults? Will you be able to identify faults?
But can we be the internal auditor of that organization where our family is involved?
You can be the internal auditors of that organization, but not of that department.
Okay.
Okay, we'll do that in detail. Second element, definition of internal auditing. It says internal auditing is an independent, objective, assurance and consulting activity. Assurance and consulting activity designed to add value and improve an organization's operations. Independent, you understand. Objective, you understand. Now, internal auditing can be an assurance engagement. It can also be a consulting activity. What is the difference between these two? We'll do it in a little while. All right, but understand assurance, internal auditing is not only assurance, it is also consulting. Okay. It helps an organization accomplish its objectives by bringing a systematic, disciplined approach, your keywords, to evaluate and improve the effectiveness of. These are the three pillars of internal auditing: governance, risk management, and control, known as the GRC. That you will be hearing this a lot. GRC. That's the governance, risk management, and control. These are the three pillars of your internal auditing. Third element, standards. Why do you have the what are standards? Basic question. What do you mean by standards?
Guidelines.
The framework
Yeah.
which we have to follow.
So standards is basically give you an outline, give you a framework within which you can perform. And why do we have these standards? What is the benefit of having these standards?
Auditing is about evaluating. So we have to do the evaluation basis a standard. Otherwise, every organization will have their own standard. Yeah.
Correct. Absolutely. It guides your behavior, right? It tells you what is to be done. It sets the benchmark. So the purpose of the standards is to guide adherence to the mandatory elements. One of the mandatory elements is you follow the standards. So if you have the standards, you're following them, it is leading to you adhering to the mandatory elements of IPPF. It provides a framework for performing and promoting a broad range of value-added internal auditing services. It establishes a basis of evaluation of internal audit performance. How will you evaluate the performance of internal audit? You'll see if they are following the standards or they are every time deviating from the standards. Right? So if you're following these standards act as a basis for evaluating the internal audit performance as well, and foster improved organizational processes and operations. You have to remember them. Again, which one of the following is one of the purposes of the standards, or which one of the following is not one of the purposes of standards? Which one is true regarding the standards? Which one is false regarding the standards? Right? These are the various types of questions that can happen, and you will see a lot of them. Okay. So what are the purposes of the standards? Very quickly, guide adherence to the mandatory elements, provides a framework for performing, establish a basis for evaluating the internal audit performance, and improved organizational processes and operations. Recommended guidance. I know one is left, ethics. We'll cover that in detail. Recommended guidance is basically, they prescribe the practices for effective implementation of the core principles, the definition, the ethics, and the standards. It will help you implement something. Standards tell you, okay, this is what it should be. Recommended, if you need to look at, okay, how to treat this item, that will be the recommended guidance, supplemental guidance, or the implementation guidance telling you how to do about this. Right? So the two recommended elements are implementation guidance and supplemental guidance. Regarding the internal audit activity, the purpose of internal audit activity is to provide independent, objective assurance and consulting services designed to add value and improve the organization operations. This is, we know by definition. The support of the management and the board is crucial when inevitable conflicts arise between the internal audit activity and the departments. I have two questions here for you. One, why do we say that conflicts arise between internal audit activity and department under review? Can you give me an example where a conflict can arise?
They may not agree to the findings of internal auditors.
Okay, they may not agree to the findings. Very good. Anyone else?
Sometimes they are saying that this is the business practices. You are just evaluating this control as per financial control, or you just see the one side of the coin. Also, this is the standard business practices. This is the that can be one of the conflict.
And what can it lead to? Such kinds of conflicts, what can it lead to?
Basically, it lead to like a word which is used in the last slide also, that is implementation guidelines. So when you implement that observation, so that time also it means कि वो implementation हो नहीं पाता है. Basically अगर मैं आपको बताऊं तो वो implementation हो नहीं पाता, because वहां पे आपका एंड डिपार्टमेंट एचओडी का कॉन्फ्लिक्ट है कि नहीं ऐसा नहीं हो सकता. तो जो आप रिकमेंडेशन दे रहे हैं फिर वो किसी यूजफुल की नहीं है.
Correct. And do you think that is a healthy atmosphere in a company? No,
नहीं, वो
right?
फिर हेल्दी एटमॉस्फेयर भी नहीं होता है कि बिकॉज कहीं ना कहीं ना फिर वो उस चीज को ना प्रोवोक करते हैं कि नहीं, ठीक है इंटरन ऑडिट है, वो उस चीज मींस फॉर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन बेटरमेंट, वो उस मतलब ऑर्गेनाइजेशन बेटरमेंट के उसके ऊपर नहीं जाते हैं. फिर वो बेसिकली हो जाता है कि ठीक है ऑडिट है, ठीक है आप कर लो एंड फिनिश करते हो. जस्ट ए मींस कि हमने ऑडिट कर लिया और उसको फाइल में बंद करके रख दिया, दैट वो उस अप्रोच पे चल जाता है बेसिकली.
Absolutely right. और आपका पर्पस भी डिफीट हो जाता है फिर.
यस,
You know,
यस.
the entire purpose of having an internal audit activity gets defeated if your recommendations are not being taken into consideration. Then you're just wasting our time, right? So, and how do we resolve those kinds of conflicts? It's very uh, you know it's very apparent, and it's very general to have these kinds of conflicts day in day out. How would you solve it?
भाई जो उसमें सबसे बेस्ट जो मीन्स हमें भी हमें हमें हर ऑन डेली बेसिस ये फील होता है जब भी हम ऑडिट करने जाते हैं या हम कहीं किसी डिपार्टमेंट में बैठे हुए हैं. सबसे पहले जो हमें जो दिक्कत आती है, हम मतलब उस चीज को ओवरकम करने के लिए हम सबसे पहले क्या करते हैं कि प्लीज ठीक है, वी आर नॉट नोइंग एनीथिंग, सो प्लीज एक्सप्लेन हाउ यू मूविंग द थिंग्स फ्रॉम बेसिक्स टू एंड. हमें नहीं पता आपका प्रोसेस क्या है, आप प्लीज एक प्रोसेस को डिटेल में समझाइए. एंड व्हेन वी एक्सप्लेन द प्रोसेस ना, सो once we understand the process, then we'll put questions, we'll put a control basis questions, so that कि वो पता लग जाए कि अच्छा ये controls हैं जो भी हमें, we know that कि हमें at the end of report में ये issues आएंगे. तो we'll ask these questions कि अच्छा like अगर मैं purchase order की बात करूं आपको, तो purchase order में हम ठीक है purchase order value होता है, वहाँ एक concept आता है tolerance की. तो हमें पता है कि कभी भी जब भी हम टॉलरेंस के ऊपर बात करते हैं, तो डिपार्टमेंट एचओडी कहता है नहीं इंडस्ट्री में ऐसा चलता है. इंडस्ट्री में जैसे स्टील और कॉपर के केस में 10% टॉलरेंस होता है, 15% टॉलरेंस होता है. सो व्हेन वी डिस्कस दिस प्रोसेस एट दैट टाइम हम उससे पूछते हैं कि अच्छा आपके यहाँ टॉलरेंस डिफाइंड है. हाँ डिफाइंड है. अच्छा वो डिफाइंड सिस्टम में डिफाइंड है. ओके, इज वी आर फॉलोइंग द सेम. सो उसके बेसिस पे अगर हम जब प्रोसेस अंडरस्टैंडिंग में क्वेश्चंस करते हैं, सो उससे हेल्प ये होता है कि जो लास्ट मोमेंट पे जो हमारा कॉन्फ्लिक्ट आएगा, वो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट नहीं आता. एंड जो दूसरी अप्रोच वो ये है कि थ्रू आउट डिस्कशन विद द प्रोसेस ओनर्स, कि एक क्या होता है, एक सेट ऑफ माइंड क्या होता है, ऑडिटर जाता है और वो अपना कॉर्नर में बैठता है, ही हैव ए नॉलेज, वो अपना सिस्टम यूज किया एंड करके फाइंडिंग्स दे के चल जाता है. और दूसरा सेट ऑफ ऑडिटर्स ये होता है कि बीइंग इन्वॉल्व विद द प्रोसेस ओनर्स, ओके, जस्ट टू सी हाउ द थिंग्स हैपन एट द फ्लोर. तो आई थिंक इन दो अप्रोच से जो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट जो नेस होता है वो हम रिमूव कर सकते हैं सर.
Absolutely right. Wonderful example. Uh, everything is right, and that's how you solve it. And also, for this to happen, you need a support of the management and the board. They
Yes.
need to inculcate an atmosphere wherein you go discuss the things and sort it out. They should act as bridge if there is any kind of conflicts involved. Right, wonderful. So in part two, we'll discuss how do you do that, right? You involve the management also in understanding of the risks and framing of the controls, right? That's the first chapter of part two. When we reach to part two, we'll talk about that. So absolutely, now everyone is clear. We all understand that things cannot move forward without the support of the management and the board.
Ayush, one question. I don't understand. It means the word supplemental guidelines, which you have used in the last slide, na, कि the recommended guidance of two types. The one is implementation, one is supplemental guidelines. Implementation guidance, okay, that is basically your recommendation. But I'm not able to understand supplemental guidance.
If you want some more information into some terminologies, right? कि ये चीज होती क्या है? That's supplemental guidance. That's explaining you the terms. For example, you want to understand more about related parties.
Okay.
Right? That will be the supplemental guidance.
Okay.
Okay. Now, responsibility. The responsibility of the internal audit activity is to provide the organization with assurance and consulting services Every time you'll find this written, assurance and consulting services. That will add value and improve the organization's operations. Now, moving on to what are assurance services. What is the time like? 7:15, 7:14. We can go on for another 15 minutes, I think, and then we'll probably break. Okay. अभी break की need तो नहीं लग रही? Do you need break right now?
No, not at all.
No, no.
We can continue.
Bored तो नहीं हो रहे ना?
No, again.
No,
No,
no.
No,
Very
no.
interesting.
So far, so good. Okay. All right. Now, assurance services. It says assurance services is an objective examination of evidence. Very important keyword for you. Assurance is an objective examination of evidence for the purpose of providing an independent assessment on the GRC. Independent assessment on the GRC. Right? Just hold on to this definition. The nature and scope of an assurance engagement are determined by the internal auditor. Who determines the scope? Who determines the nature of the engagement? Internal auditor. In assurance services, there are three parties. There is a process owner, there is an internal auditor, there is a user. There is a process owner, the purchase department, there is the internal auditor, you, there is the user, the management of the company, who will be using your report, will be using your work. Right? So this is what is assurance engagement. Consulting services. Consulting services are activities intended to add value and improve the organization's GRC without the internal auditor assuming management responsibility. What is the word that is missing here? If you compare it with assurance. Sorry?
User?
No. In this definition, in this paragraph, what is the thing that is missing? You said assurance is an objective examination of evidence for providing an independent assessment on GRC. In consulting, you say that these are activities intended to add value and improve the GRC without you assuming management responsibility. What is missing?
The evidence part is missing.
Absolutely. In consulting, you are not examining the evidence. There will be exam questions which will give you a scenario, and they'll ask you that, okay, which of the following is an example of an assurance activity? Which of the following is an example of consulting activity? Right? So I'll give you one scenario, but before that, the nature and scope of the consulting engagement are subject to agreement with the client. In assurance, the nature and scope was being determined by the internal auditor. Here it is being determined by the management and the auditors. Only two parties are there, the auditor and the client. Right? So what is the difference between assurance and consulting services? Let's understand by an example. Should I give you the example?
आयुष डेफिनेशन पढ़ के तो यही लग रहा है कि एश्योरेंस एंड कंसल्टिंग में क्या डिफरेंस होना चाहिए. एश्योरेंस मींस ऐसा लग रहा है कि इंडिपेंडेंट ऑडिट डिपार्टमेंट है ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में, एंड कंसल्टिंग मींस कि आपने आइए जो वर्क है वो आउटसोर्स कर रखा है.
अच्छा, अभी समझते हैं. Suppose, please, sorry for this. Suppose you are an internal auditor. I'll give you two scenarios. Scenario one. Amazon comes to you and requests you to provide your opinion on the internal controls on or internal controls over financial reporting. Another example. Pepsi comes to you and requests you to train, or let's say to assist the management in reviewing the best practices to implement in IT controls. You need to tell me, you know my question. You need to tell me the first one. Is it an assurance activity or is it the consulting activity?
Then
And the second one,
Assurance.
First one is assurance.
because it's
how?
First one is consulting, I guess.
opinion to provide an independent opinion on their reporting, and second one is to assist for, so it will act more like an betterment for the company to add value. So that would be a consulting service.
Okay.
In the first
First
one, you
one
need
will
to
be
review the
providing the
evidence
evidence.
also.
Yeah.
Okay. You're absolutely, you are right. When you say that the first one is assurance, you are absolutely correct. Why is it an assurance? Let's understand. Let's take an example of an external auditor. What is the end result of external auditor?
To provide whether the statements are true and fair.
That means audit report,
Yes.
right? The end result of external audit is provision of audit report. Okay. What does audit report have?
Opinion.
An opinion of the auditor with respect to the financial statements of the company, whether it is true and fair and whether it is made as per the applicable framework or not. Okay. How does the auditor reach that opinion?
By reviewing the documentations and evidences,
By
By
financial
reviewing the
statements,
documentation and evidences, by
financial
examining
statements.
the evidences.
Yes.
So if you follow the process, you start the engagement, you look at you gather evidences, you examine those evidences, you analyze those evidences, you frame a conclusion on the basis of which an opinion is made, right? And that is why when you were reading assurance, it said examination of evidence. Why? Because here you are going to provide your opinion. This becomes an assurance activity. That is the keyword for you in the exam. If one of the options says that you are providing your opinion on something, by default, it makes it an assurance engagement. All right. Why is the second one consulting? Is it consulting?
Yes, it is consulting. It doesn't include the keyword opinion.
Smart. Okay. Yes, it is consulting. Absolutely.
One more thing
Because
is that there is no third party, the user, I think.
absolutely, there is no third party. There are only two parties here. Uh, in assurance, you can see that there are three parties involved. Of course, it's you. Of course, it's the management, and of course, it's the financial reporting people, right? But in Pepsi, you just have two parties because you are there just to add value. You're simply assisting the management in reviewing what are the best practices to implement. You're acting more as an advisor. Wonderful. So keep these kinds of situations in mind. Look for the word opinion, right? That is very important for you.
Ayush, I have a doubt in a Pepsi case. There as well, we are reviewing their practices, right? Like we are looking into like which one is the best among the given set of practices. So why can't we consider that to be an assurance activity?
You are not providing your opinion. You're not examining the evidences. You're not examining, okay, what is the management currently doing? Is it right or wrong? What is the recommendation? No, you're simply saying industry wide, what are the general best practices for IT controls? That's it.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
Okay, there's a difference. Okay. Now I have a question with the second one. Help me understand. Am I assuming management's responsibilities here? Am I implementing the IT controls?
No, you're just
Why?
No.
management to review their as a third line of defense.
I'm just advising them, okay, these are the best practices. Whether to implement or not is it's absolutely with the management. Right? Wonderful. Amazing, guys. So you understand this. Great. Okay. Next up is ethics. Very important. Lots of questions are there. But before starting with ethics, because there are multiple topics of ethics, let's take a break here, guys. Let's break for 15 minutes. I will see you in 15 minutes. All right. And after that, we'll start with ethics.
Okay.
Hello. Hello. I just have a doubt, one
Yes,
doubt.
Dilip.
So, like previous example you explained, no? Can you please explain me why? Because I just missed due to network issue.
In the first case, you were providing an opinion on internal control. How would you
Okay.
provide an opinion on whether the internal controls are working fine or not? You'll gather the evidences, you'll test the controls, you'll gather the evidences, you'll analyze those evidences, right? But in the second case, you are not providing an opinion on anything. You are simply reviewing the okay, these are the best practices that it's recommended to follow. It is up to the management to follow it or not. You're just providing as an advisor in the second
Okay.
case.
Okay.
Right?
Ayush, in case of Pepsi, in case of consulting, I totally agree with the definition. Consulting, it's a fall under consulting definition. But मैं आपको एक छोटा सा एग्जांपल देता हूँ. One of our client जहाँ पे हमने एक एजेंसी को हायर किया था, एंड एक एजेंसी को हायर करने का रीजन ये था कि बेस्ट प्रैक्टिसेस क्या है, बिकॉज हमारा वहाँ पे वेस्ट बहुत ज्यादा आ रहा था. तो हमने उनको कहा कि भाई आके आप ना हमें बेस्ट प्रैक्टिसेस बताइए, so that कि our wastage will be reduced. So उस मींस ऑल्दो ये जो पेप्सी वाला जो आपने केस बताया ये उसी से लिंक था, बट वो वाली जो मींस जो वो प्रोजेक्ट था वो भी एश्योरेंस वाले डेफिनेशन में आ रहा था, बिकॉज दे मतलब अगर वो बॉटलनेक फैक्टर्स बताना है कि हमें क्या नाम है हम कैसे रिड्यूस करेंगे, तो दे हैव टू इवेल्यूएट आवर डेटा, दे हैव टू इवेल्यूएट द प्रैक्टिकल थिंग्स, दे हैव टू इवेल्यूएट द सैंपल्स आल्सो. सो मेरे
वो
हिसाब से मतलब
वो आपकी बेस्ट प्रैक्टिसेस को इम्प्रूव कर रहे थे.
ओके,
राइट. यहाँ पे मैं सिर्फ उन्हें ये बता रहा हूँ कि यार व्हाट आर द जनरल बेस्ट प्रैक्टिसेस इन आईटी कंट्रोल्स दैट इज रिकमेंडेड टू फॉलो. अगर वो आपके प्रोसेस को देखकर ये बता रहे हैं कि वो एफिशिएंट है या वो इम्प्रूव हुआ जा सकता है, वो assurance हो गया.
Noted.
इसीलिए
Got your
वो
point.
assurance.
Got your point.
Wonderful. All right, guys, are we back?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's continue.
Yes, yes, yes.
Wonderful.
Yes,
We're going to work with ethics now.
But I guess type of standard have been missed. What is attribute standard, what is performance standard, and what is implementation standard? We have
Don't
MC
worry.
for that.
Don't worry. Relax. You'll be covering it. Okay, moving on to ethics. Now, why do you think ethics are important? Do you think ethics are important in the company? If yes, why? Why do you think ethics are important?
Ethics are important for a company, otherwise there will be a reputation loss.
How?
If they follow any unethical practices, right, it'll be kind of the company will lose the reputation.
In fact,
Correct.
ethics is also required for a culture.
For a culture, what does
Yes.
that mean?
Culture means basically
When we say that ethics are required for culture,
standardization of things.
that means what you're trying to say is ethics are important so as to have a better culture in the entire organization, a better
Yes.
environment of working in the organization. Absolutely correct. Also, ethics are important. Why? Because otherwise, the stakeholders will be at a huge risk of loss, right? You need people to follow a set of ethical principles. You need auditors to be ethical. You need auditors to be honest. You need auditors to be independent. You need them to be uh, competent in what they're doing. You need them to maintain confidentiality, because as auditors, you will be definitely getting a lot of sensitive information once you're auditing, right? So ethics are very important. You are absolutely right. Now, the purpose of the code of ethics is to promote an ethical culture in the profession of internal auditing. It says that the code of ethics is necessary and appropriate for the profession of internal auditing, founded as it is on the trust placed in its objective assurance about the GRC. People trust you, and hence you need to be ethical. The code of ethics extends beyond the definition of internal auditing to include the two essential components: principles that are relevant to the profession and practices of internal auditing, and the rules of conduct that describe the behavior norms expected of the internal auditors. Right? Now, who is it applicable to? Is it applicable to you being the CIA? If I am not CIA, that means the code of ethics doesn't apply to me. Can I say that?
No.
No. That means you're trying to say is that if you are a part of internal audit, no matter if you are a CIA or not, no
Yes.
matter if you are the member of the institute or not, but if you are in that team, the ethics and the standards are applicable to you.
Yes.
And you're absolutely right. The code are applied broadly to all organizations and persons who perform internal audit services, not just CIAs and members of the institute. right? It applies to both the entities and individuals that perform the internal audit services. For the members and recipients of or the candidates of the certification, the breaches of the code of ethics will be evaluated and administered according to the institute's bylaws and administrative directives. Now tell me something. There is one-off situation which is unethical, but it is not mentioned in the rules of conduct. Rules of conduct has the behaviors. That thing is not mentioned in the rules of conduct. Can you still do that? Saying that it's not there in the rules of conduct, it's not unethical.
No. We can't do that.
You still can't do that, right? It is not necessary that each and every situation is mentioned in the code of ethics, right? And so this becomes a very important line for you, which says the fact that a particular conduct is not mentioned in the rules of conduct does not prevent it from being unacceptable or discreditable. And therefore, the member, certification holder, or the candidate can be liable for disciplinary action. So these are the 4 principles of ethics: integrity, which relates to honesty; objectivity, that's unbiased attitude; confidentiality, it will say that as auditors, you are exposed to highly sensitive information, and hence you need to be able to use the information that you get in a prudent manner. You should not be using the information for your personal benefits. We'll talk about that a little later. And competency, right? You need to have the knowledge, skills, and experience needed to perform the internal audit services. Looking at integrity first, it says that the internal auditors shall perform the work with honesty, diligence, and responsibility, shall observe the law and make disclosures expected by the law and profession. You yourself should be following the laws. Very important. Shall not knowingly be a party to any illegal activity or engage in acts that are discreditable to the profession of internal auditing or to the organization. I'll give you an example. While doing the internal audit, you come across a scenario where you find the head of the purchase department doing a fraud. Now, that head of the purchase department, since you have been acting as auditor since a long period of time now, you are relatively familiar with that head of the purchase department, and that person happens to be your neighbor. Now, considering this, that the person is your neighbor, you of course choose not to be involved with him in the fraud, but you choose to ignore this fact. My question is, have you violated the code of ethics?
Yes.
Yes.
Why? You did not do any fraud.
But means
You didn't.
you're indirectly part of that also.
Yes, because you knew about it and you choose to ignore it.
Yes.
You knowingly became a party to that illegal activity, right? So you cannot do that. You shall not knowingly be a party to any illegal activity. Shall respect and contribute to the legitimate and ethical objectives of the organization. Integrity, it says, is the foundation of the other 3 principles. The CAE's responsibility for implementing integrity includes cultivating a culture of integrity, establishing policies and procedures to guide the internal audit activity to show diligence and responsibility. Oh, wait, establishing policies and procedures? Wasn't that the role of management? Why is it saying it is your responsibility?
Policies and procedures for the internal audit team.
Wonderful. Policies and procedures for your team, right? Not for the company. Emphasizing the importance of integrity by providing training that demonstrates integrity and other ethical principles in action. Conformance with integrity may be demonstrated through the following. A QAIP program, we'll talk about that a little later. Forms of acknowledgement signed by individual internal auditors, demonstrating that the auditors have committed to follow the organization's ethics policy or the code of ethics, relevant laws, and the IIA's code of ethics and other mandatory guidances. Diligent supervision of engagements and performance of the self-assessments required by the standards. If you're a part of Big Four, if you're working in, there are people from KPMG, there are people from Deloitte here. Guys, you might be asked to self-certify. Every year you might be receiving an email from the department requiring you to conform with the code of ethics. Do you get it?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm not belongs to KPMG, but in our organization also, at the time of onboarding, you have to sign the code of ethics form, and this form, the same form for on every year basis, we have to just
Declare. You have
yes,
to sign,
yeah.
self-certify. Absolutely. That's what we are talking about. All right. Let's try this question, guys. An internal auditor working for a chemical manufacturer believed that the toxic waste was being dumped in violation of the law. Out of loyalty to the organization, no information regarding the dumping was collected. Is the internal auditor in violation or not in violation?
Yes, he's in violation because he knows, he knew.
Okay, so when you say that the person is in violation, immediately two options C and D are ruled out. So now you are left with A and B. Why is it a violation? Because the person knowingly became a party, or the person failing to protect the well-being of general public?
He knowingly became a party to an illegal activity.
Yes, option A.
Wonderful. Knowingly became a party to an illegal act. See, that's how easy it is. Very good. Objectivity. Unbiasedness. It says that the internal auditors shall not participate in any activity or relationship that may impair or be presumed to impair their unbiased assessment. What does this mean? Can you give me an example? Can you help me explain this? What do we mean by this? Remember my example when I said
Conflict of
that your
interest?
spouse is the head of the purchase department now?
Conflict of interest?
Conflict of interest. Very good. So you shall not participate in any activity or relationship that may impair or be presumed to impair their unbiased assessment.
Aayush, can I share one example for this?
Please. Well done.
Yes,
Sure.
there is a live case where I'm being a logistic manager, and what happened कि मुझे हर महीने ना जो भी ट्रांसपोर्ट लॉजिस्टिक मैनेजर जो कि बेसिकली ट्रांसपोर्टेशन सेकेंडरी ट्रांसपोर्टेशन एंड ऑन उनके बिल्स प्रोसेस करता था. तो हुआ क्या कि प्रैक्टिकल केस है, हुआ क्या कि मैंने क्या किया, मैंने अपनी ही गाड़ी मींस ट्रांसपोर्टेशन के साथ ऐड कर दी. सो उसमें ये हुआ कि भाई मेरे को सभी सारे बिल प्रोसेस करने हैं. सो जब मैं अपनी गाड़ी का बिल प्रोसेस करूंगा So in terms of kilometers and okay, my bill is okay. So कहीं ना कहीं मेरी जो independence है, although ये means process owner के point of view से है, but कहीं ना कहीं जो उसकी independence थी वो questions पे आती है. So being an internal auditor, when we see that, so we'll question that कि नहीं कहीं ना कहीं जो objective of this process owner है वो कहीं ना कहीं आपकी biasness आई है.
बायसनेस आई है या इंटेग्रिटी पे सवाल है?
Concluded it will result on integrity of that person.
इंटीग्रिटी भी सवाल है, राइट?
Yeah,
यहाँ पे
yeah.
बायसनेस नहीं है, बट यहाँ पे आप इंटीग्रिटी पे सवाल है आप.
Yeah.
So you're in violation of integrity principle.
Yeah.
Wonderful. और किसी ने कोई फ्रॉड किए? Okay, jokes apart, guys. Second one. Shall not. Okay, इसका एक एग्जांपल मैं भी देता हूँ. Not that मैंने फ्रॉड किए, but do you remember the time when these prepaid taxis came for the first time? I think I was in KPMG in audit, and it is the time I'm talking about is 2011-ish. नहीं, 2011-12 के आसपास. जब क्विक कैब्स और मेरू कैब्स, ये सब कैब्स फर्स्ट टाइम आए थे, राइट? इज एनीबडी फ्रॉम दैट एरा?
Yes, we have seen that time also.
You've seen that era also. You've seen that time. So how was billing made? अभी तो आपके इनवॉइस आ जाता है, प्रॉपर सब कुछ होता है, बट पहले बिल्स कैसे जनरेट होते थे? You remember the cab driver used to have that booklet from which he used to cut those slips and give it to you.
Yes.
Right? The cab driver would sign it and said, "Ki, yaar, just fill whatever amount you want to fill."
Yeah.
Right? And we've all done that, haven't we? Filled more than what is there to charge it to the
Yes.
client.
Yes.
अरे यार ऐसा मत बोलो यार, वीडियो पे. Okay. चलो, next one. You shall not accept anything that may impair or presume to impair your professional judgment. Suppose the management gifts you a fully paid world tour, all 5-star properties, business class travels. What will you do?
Not accept any gift from the management because it hampers my independence. I'll accept it for my family members because in both scenario it will impact my independence.
So that means you will deny the world tour,
Yes.
business class tickets, 5-star stays, fully paid.
Because in conclusion nobody can give you free gifts, because if he give free gift, वो free gift के against आपसे कुछ ना कुछ expect करेगा.
You're absolutely right. Anybody has any other view? Any interesting answers? I remember one of the international batches I was taking. So there was this one person, and that took it to an entire different level. And the person said, "I will accept the world tour, and then I'll resign while coming back." So anybody of that view? आप सीधे लोग हो यार. Nice people you are. You denied it straight away. Okay, absolutely, guys. All jokes apart, it is very important. You cannot accept anything from the management. I have another question though. The management gifts you a diary and a pen with the branding of the company. Can you accept?
Yes.
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 But अभी तो आपने बोला that you cannot accept anything.
Being an
If it's
auditor,
within
being an
Is there a
auditor आपको
small
अपना
gift?
being an auditor
and
आपको अपना pen and gift वो अपना डायरी लेके आना चाहिए.
अरे यार.
also
सर
also
इसमें आयुष उसमें डिपेंड मींस आप हाउ यू प्रूव दैट कि दिस एक्शन विल नॉट इम्पेयर माय इंडिपेंडेंस.
There is one more thing. If it's within the company gift, within the range of company gift policy, I think that is okay.
Right. So you have to see the materiality also of the gift. Diary and pen will not make you indebted to the management. right? It might be that the company has or is give it's a Diwali time. The company is gifting it to all the people. The company gives it to you as well, right? It's absolutely fine. A diary and a pen is not significant enough to make you indebted towards the management or to hamper your objectivity. But again, tickets to pavilion.
Sir, Ayush, but in our company, normally we means means we tell everybody, with every process owner to means to don't accept the Diwali gift from any vendor, whether it is a gift of fruits or dry fruits. Just don't accept it.
क्या पता ड्राई फ्रूट
Yes,
में
yes, yes.
डायमंड छुपा के दे दे तुम्हें ऐसा. Okay. No. See, it's good. It's good. If you're that stringent in your approach, it's absolutely fine. But what we are trying to say here is a pen, a normal pen. I'm not talking about Mobla. I'm not talking about 10,000 rupees of a pen or 50,000 rupees of a pen. I'm talking about a normal, 2 rupee, 5 rupee pen and a diary. That would not make you indebted to the management to hamper your objectivity. That is fine. If it is if it is within the normal gambit of the activities of the company, it's absolutely fine. Shall disclose all material facts known to them that, if not disclosed, may distort the reporting of activities under review. If you come across a significant, let's say, deficiency, right? You need to report it to the management. You need to report any such anomaly, any such significant deficiency to the higher levels, to the appropriate level in the company, right? You need to know all material facts. You need to disclose all material facts to the appropriate people. Oh, wonderful.
Ayush, I have one doubt. Say now
Yeah.
I'm an internal auditor from X company working for a client. Now that I've performed my audit very well, it happens that the client wants to recognize me by through meals or some kind of promotional gift. It's basically for the whole team which has performed that audit. In such a case, can we accept that?
It depends. Uh, treat you for, treat you where? It's a normal food court kind of dinner. It's fine.
Yeah, it's like a
It's
lunch
an
or a dinner. Yeah.
Oberoi or Taj stay. You cannot,
Okay.
right? And again,
So
if you
it's
are still doing
basically
that,
not
you need to
specific to a
disclose it.
person, but for the whole team.
It's fine, even if it is for whole team. What if the management sponsors Oberoi stays for the entire team? Can you accept it?
I mean,
You
since the
can.
management is sponsoring, they would ideally expect the members to go, right?
Fine, but deny it politely. They will understand, and they do know. They also know that you cannot accept anything, being the auditors,
Okay.
right? So you
Say,
cannot accept.
got it. Say if my management is offering to the team, say it's like, okay, you guys have done really good job
आपकी management
giving
कर
the
रही है,
client.
it's fine. Go for offsite stays. You any which ways go, right? If the management, if your team, let's say your KPMG, if after a successful completion of the engagement, you people want to go out for an overall stay, go. No problem. Don't charge it to the client, though.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
But it actually often happens that these people again
I
go
know.
back and charge it to the client code.
See, चलो वो बातें बाद में करेंगे. What happens is different.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. A conflict of interest policy. You should prohibit the transfer of benefits between an employee and those with whom the organization deals, right? There should be no conflict of interest. It's just that simple. Violations include excessive individual fraternizing outside the work with the organization employees. Even if you are trying to gel up with the people outside of your work, let's say you say that it's 7 8 p.m. I am off work now and let's go party chill, then you cannot do that. It's a violation again. Violation include accepting gifts, meals, trips, and special treatment that exceed the policy limits or are not disclosed and approved. Right? I think this gives you your answer. Violation include intentional omission of disclosures of illegal activity from final engagement. Communication, intentional omission of disclosures of illegal activity from final engagement. Communication. Conformance with the objectivity is demonstrated by the following. The CAE provides relevant policies and procedures for the internal audit activity. CAE requires the auditors to attend meetings or training sessions about objectivity. CAE documents the rationale for allocation of resources to the internal audit plan, including potential impairments. Approval of the CAE or a designated engagement supervisor of engagement work paper may evidence that the internal auditors have conducted a balanced assessment. Let me give you an example. The big four guys, the KPMGs, Deloitte's people, every year you also do have to sign an annual confirmation, which HR gives you, wherein you have to disclose if you hold shares in a company. Do you do that? You still get that?
Yes.
Right? Why is that? Why do you have to mention the shares that you hold? What is the problem in holding shares in the company? Okay, this is an interesting conversation.
Inside
Can you hold
trading.
shares? Can you
To
hold
just
shares in a Can you hold shares in a company?
Yes.
Yes.
Are being an auditor?
No.
No.
You cannot. Why can't you? What is the problem?
Because we can see the financial statement before the disclosing it to the public, so we know like what will be the company structure before it goes to the public.
Can be come under the definition of insider trading also.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
it is. Wonderful. So that is one such area. If you already hold the shares, why can't you audit?
Then you're like one of the owners of the company, right? You're getting equity shares.
What could go wrong if you become the auditor? What is
It
the
will
risk?
impact your independence. It
Interest,
will impact
yeah.
your independence.
How?
Because when you know that key independence, okay.
How?
Means it will impact your opinion basically.
How?
Because you are being a part of the operation. You are being a part of the company also.
What is it that you will try to do? You will become a
You
party,
may
try to inflate the net profit, isn't it? You'll try to manipulate the accounts. Why? To manipulate the stock prices. Yes. So you cannot do that. That is why you're being asked, if you hold the shares, you need to sell it off to become an auditor. You cannot hold in your name, you cannot hold in your relative's name as well. Okay. So you cannot do that. Also, your fees, your audit fees cannot be a percentage of the net profit of the company. What is the problem?
Will always try to inflate the profits because it will impact my fees also.
पैसा बड़ी चीज है यार.
Yes.
है ना? So obviously, so you cannot do that. Again, people also know that we are human. We'll succumb to greed. So we can't do that. Wonderful. Let's try this question, guys. An internal auditing team has made observations and recommendations that should significantly improve a division's operating efficiency. Out of appreciation of this work, and because it is the holiday season, the division manager presents the in-charge internal auditor with a gift of moderate value. Which of the following best describes the action prescribed by the Code of Ethics? Accept or not accept?
Not accept.
Not accept.
Okay, so D is ruled out. Fair.
Yes.
Why will you not accept?
Because it may be impair my judgment also. Options
So
B.
which B, right? not except if the gift is presumed to impair the internal auditor's judgment. Very good. Confidentiality. You shall be prudent in the use and protection of information acquired in the course of your duties. You shall not use information for any personal gain or in any manner that would be contrary to the law or detrimental to the objectives of the organization. No insider trading, guys. Also, suppose you are the auditor of Zomato. Let's say you are auditing Zomato. They have, let's say, one of their proprietary systems made. Zepto guys comes to you and gives you $100,000 to give them the information outside of your work hours. What will you do?
Not accept.
अरे पता है $100,000 कितने होते
Not
हैं?
accept.
Then resign.
Then resign. Okay. Again, very good. You cannot accept. Organizations usually issue information security policies to protect the data they acquire, use, and produce, to ensure compliance with the laws and regulations that pertain to the industry and jurisdiction within which they operate. To better understand the impact of legal and regulatory requirements and protections, the CAE should consult with the legal counsel. Again, you cannot use any information for your personal gain. An example of conformance with confidentiality is the CAE demonstrating support of internal audit confidentiality through the evidence of policies, procedures, processes, procedures, and training materials implemented to cover confidentiality as it applies to internal audit activity and the organization. Simply says that you are all training the people and you are making people aware that they cannot use any such information for their personal benefits. Okay. Which of the following most likely constitutes a violation of the code of ethics by an internal auditor? Try this up.
B.
Which is a violation?
C.
Purchasing stock in target entity.
Yes, it's B.
B, right? Wonderful. Purchasing stock in a target entity after overhearing an executive's discussion of a possible acquisition. Why not A? Why not A?
Because we are just
You're not using
It is about the organization controls, which is part of our process for being audited. It's not something that affects our personal
wonderful.
increment or
Yes.
confidentiality.
You're not personally gaining from this situation, right? Okay. Why not C?
Ayush, just one question, and the same reason is for the C also, I think, because we are not getting any gain for C.
C is because of confidentiality, right? Sensitive information. You might feel that at times it's not appropriate to put on the sensitive information because the file might go to someone else, right? You're not deleting the deficiencies. You are simply deleting any sensitive information that might be there.
Okay.
Right? Investigating executive expense reports based completely on rumors of padding. We will talk about this, and it will come. Right? What is padding? What is lapping of receivables? It will come later. But again, T is not a problem. We'll talk about that. So we all understand that. Right? Regarding competency, you'll understand competency all well. You shall engage only in those services for which you have the necessary knowledge, skills, and experience. You shall perform the services in accordance with the IPPF or the standards. You shall continually improve their proficiency and effectiveness and quality of your services. And that is why you have continuing education as well. The CAE may demonstrate a culture supportive of competency and the continual improvement of proficiency, effectiveness, and quality through evidence that engagements have been properly resourced and supervised, among other methods. The knowledge, skills, and experience of individual internal auditors may be evidenced by credentialed qualifications, such as the degrees and certifications. I don't know if it happens nowadays also, but when you're sending a proposal to the client, right, the team also goes. The people who will be a part of the engagement or who are there goes as a part of the proposal. Anybody sending that up?
Yes.
Right, and along with your name, your degrees, and your something sort of your experience is also mentioned, right? So why is that given to say that yes, your team is qualified enough?
Yes, yes. And it also give a comfort to client that how technical qualified teams you will involved in particular assignments.
Absolutely. Wonderful. An organization has recently placed a former operating manager in the position of the CAE. The new CAE is not a member of the IIA and is not even a CIA. Henceforth, the internal audit activity will be run strictly by the CAE standard, not the IIA. All 4 staff internal auditors are members of the IIA, but they are not CIAs. According to the Code of Ethics, what is the best course of action for the staff internal auditors?
They should comply with the international standards.
Easy?
Yes, it's B. Comply with the international standard. Yes.
Good. They should comply with the standards. Wonderful. Most important thing that you can have in your organization if you're an internal auditor. This is the internal audit charter. Anybody has seen the charter? Anybody has seen the charter?
No.
No.
Anybody knows what is a charter?
No.
Yes, no? No. For people who are working in the internal audit, what is a charter?
It's basically outlining the roles and responsibilities of the department.
Charter is the formal document that you can have. Right? That is the most important document that you need to have. It will have everything. What is your roles? What is your responsibility? What is your position? What can you do? What is the scope of the engagement? What are the things that you'll cover? Everything needs to be there in the charter, which is to be approved by the board. As you can see, this is an example of an internal audit charter of Tata Chemicals. See, mission of internal audit department. Have you seen this line somewhere?
Definition.
Definition of internal audit?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. What will you do? Financial business process compliance audit, operations reviews, best practices in benchmarking, leadership development. What is the scope of your work? right? What are the team looking like? Note that you have guest auditors also. What are guest auditors?
Consultant auditors will take a consultant opinion on certain matters.
Why do we have guest auditors?
Because everybody having knowledge resistance, everybody not know everything. So sometimes to have an expert knowledge will involve consultants.
Right, we'll do that in next module.
Okay.
That you can do that. Okay. What is the responsibility of the internal audit? Right, independence. Now, what are your detailed responsibilities with respect to internal controls, compliance with regulatory policies, subsidiaries and JV oversight with respect to risk management? Look at this, quality assurance. We'll also cover that in one of the modules, the QAIP. How will the reporting look like? What are the best practices and benchmarking? Authority. You will have unrestricted access to all functions. You will have full and free access to the audit committee. You can obtain necessary assistance of the people. Whatever you need, whatever permissions, whatever authorities that you need, it will be there in this section. And the standards of audit practice. So everything that you are eligible to do and that you want will be there in this internal audit charter, which will be then approved by the board.
Ayush, in our company, it's not internal audit charter. It's of another name. It says that the department org structure prepared by strategy team. So that document already includes all the things which you have shown.
ठीक है तो वो चार्टर ही ना.
हाँ, yes, chartered ही
है तो वो चार्टर. ठीक है, नेम डिफरेंट है तो चार्टर. Okay. Internal audit charter is a formal document that defines the internal audit activities, purpose, authority, and responsibility. You've seen. The internal audit charter establishes your position within the organization, including the nature of the CAE's functional reporting relationship with the board. We'll talk about that in the next module. Authorizes access to the records, personal and physical properties, and defines the scope of the activities. Final approval of the internal audit charter resides with the board. This is very important, right? The ultimate approval of the charter is the responsibility of the board of directors. The purpose, okay, we've seen that, right? The purpose, authority, and responsibility of the internal audit activity must be formally defined in the charter, consistent with the mission of internal audit, that the first paragraph, and the mandatory elements of the framework. The chief executive must periodically review the internal audit charter and present it to the senior management and the board for approval. All right. The chief audit executive should discuss the mission of internal audit and the mandatory elements with senior management and the board. Guys, one thing, whenever we are saying senior management, right, this senior management is not the senior management, senior manager or AVP kind of designations in your company, right? So generally what we're talking about is management, senior management, which is the C-suite, CXOs, and the board. Right. So in the exam questions also, do not confuse with the designations in your company. So this is not a senior manager in your company or an AVP or a VP or principal kind of thing in your company.
So it includes key management person also?
No, this is only the CXOs.
Okay.
Management, senior management, CXO level, and the board.
Okay.
All right. So attribute standard is what is there as per the law, as per the regulation. Implementation standard is basically how you're implementing. You don't need to remember this, right? That, okay, what is the number of implementation attribute? No. The nature of assurance services provided to the organization must be defined in the internal audit charter. If assurances are to be provided to parties outside the organization, the nature of these assurances must also be defined in the internal audit charter. The nature of consulting services must be defined in the internal audit charter. So whatever you do, even if you're going in for assurance engagement or consulting engagement, it will be defined in the charter. Now, who is the CAE? Who is the CAE? The head of audit, right? The board is the highest level of governing body in a company, charged with the responsibility to direct or oversee the organization's activities and hold the senior management accountable. So whenever you are reading the word board, understand that board always enjoys an oversight role. Right? Just remember, this board always enjoys an oversight role only. Right? They will not be implementing the things. Right? Typically, board includes members who are not a part of the management. Yes, Kiran, you want to ask something?
Yeah, my question is, chief audit executive can be a project manager or someone who is executing the audit.
Sorry?
Chief audit executive, CAE, that we are
Yeah.
describing here. As mentioned over here, it will be a senior position responsible for effective managing. So will it be like a MD or the project manager or someone who is executing like at a senior consultant level or someone?
You can have an altogether a different person, or you can have a senior manager also who's the in charge of the audit department as well.
Okay.
Right?
He'll
The
be in charge,
person
not
needs
the
to be.
execution person.
Sorry?
Not someone who is executing the audit, like testing the controls or performing the
No,
controls.
you'll basically, if you're a CAE, you will be more from a the reviewer perspective. Right? The ultimate responsibility, the signing responsibility is yours.
Oh,
you will have team under you who will perform the audit.
Thank you.
A charter is one of the more important factors positively affecting the internal audit activities' independence. Which of the following is least likely to be a part of the charter?
C.
It's C.
See, I was quite confident you guys are.
C. Yes.
Okay. Okay. The length of tenure of the CAE. Wonderful, guys. So that was your first module of CIA Part 1. How did it go? Easy?
Yes.
You guys seem very happy after this. ये तो आसान है. Okay. Now, since we have covered the first module, our goal tomorrow evening would be to do a lot of questions from this module. Maybe we'll take 40 odd questions from this module. Okay, and we'll try to solve them. So tomorrow's class is very important as we go through the questions. Also, you'll be getting access to the proprietary tool of VGLD, which is by the name of, I think, CIA ACE kind of a thing. And from next session onwards, we'll be doing the practice questions on that software, right? Don't worry, I'll be giving the material. I'll be giving you these sliders and all, and we'll practice the questions from the software. But tomorrow, we'll be doing from my end. Okay, a lot of questions that we'll do. Okay, so as we conclude today's session, anything that you would like to ask, any doubt, any questions that you may have? Now is the time.
Yeah, Ayush, Ankit this side.
Yeah, Ankit.
Yeah, I have one question that when I'm discussing with the VGLD team, so basically they just asking that the books they will be sending. So basically, I think there must be some
You need
changes in the
to.
exam.
The changes in the exam are not applicable for you. It will be
Okay.
effective May onwards.
Okay. So in that case, we will be going through this module only. That will be referring to.
Yeah, obviously.
Sure.
Okay, so I'll be giving you the material. Don't worry. Any other question?
Hello.
One question from my side.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. So under integrity, it says, shall observe the law and make disclosures expected by the law and the profession. Can you please explain that again, like what we need to disclose?
You yourself as an internal auditor should be complying with the laws. It should not be the case that you are not filing, let's say, your tax returns, just to give you an example. You have to
Okay.
comply with the laws.
Okay.
Then only you
And
get integrity.
make disclosures like I have
Whatever
never seen
disclosures
any.
are whatever disclosures are required basis the regulation. For example, tax returns require you to disclose your financial information.
Okay. And like holding shares that we need to disclose, like if being asked those things.
Yeah, so that will form part of your annual compliance. That's
Okay.
objectivity.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Great. Any other question?
Ayush, do you have any one page slide which is also called as cheat sheet to just have a conclusion whatever the things which you have told? Any one page cheat sheet like a summary sheet. What are
What is it?
all things which you have told in today's session?
You need that summary sheet prepared?
Yes.
I'll try to prepare it for you. I'll try to make something which I can display at the end of every session, kind of a thing, which might be having a crux of the things.
It also help us to just take means just help for to just have a to revise what are the concept which you have explained to us.
Okay, I'll try to do that.
Ayush, in the objectivity section in the GLEM book, there is a statement, a material ownership interest in a competitor is allowable, and internal auditors seldom can, during the course of employment, take action to enhance the value of the ownership interest. Can you please elaborate? I fail to understand the statement.
If you are the auditor of uh, Apple, can you hold shares in Samsung?
Yeah.
You can.
Okay.
Oh, one question from my side from this discussion. Can you invest? Okay, you are acting as the auditor of Apple. Can you hold shares of Apple directly?
No.
No.
Can you invest in a mutual fund which also invests in Apple?
No. Indirectly,
Yes.
the interest.
Yes.
Yes,
Can
because
you
we
do
are
that?
aware exactly
Can
in
you do
which
that or can you not?
we can
Yes.
invest.
You can do that. Why? Same thing nahi hai?
It's not like we're completely putting that money into Apple. It's like the fund houses investing it in different companies, and that those companies fall in different industries. Apple might be one of that company which is not disclosed to us and which we are not actually aware.
Absolutely correct. You know what happens if you're holding it directly? You're in control of your investments. But if you are giving your money to a mutual fund, which in turn is allocating the money to different industries, one of it being Apple, you don't have control over that, right? So that's an indirectly you're holding. That is allowed, right? You can invest in mutual funds, which can have as part of their holdings some percentage in your company. That is okay, but you cannot directly own the shares in the company. Okay.
Yes.
Good. Great, guys. And that brings us to the end of today's session. Thank you so much for joining. I will see you again tomorrow evening. Have a beautiful day ahead, guys.
Thank you so much, Ayush. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Ayush.
Thank you, Aayush.
Hey, Ayush.